Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. So in this video we'll discuss the first problem of Leetcode Weekly Contest 314. It's an easy level problem. The problem name is the employee that worked on the longest task. So there are n employees, each with a unique ID from 0 to n minus 1. You are also given a 2D integer array logs where logs of I basically contains a tuple where ID of I is the ID of that employee and leave time is when the employee leaves, right? So it says that where ID is the ID of the employee that worked on the ith task and leave time is the time at which the employee finished the ith task. All the values leave time I are unique. Note that the ith task starts the moment right after the I minus 1th task ends, and the 0th task starts at time equals to 0. Return the ID of the employer that worked the task with the longest time. If there is a tie between two or more employees, return the smallest ID among them, right? So yeah, pretty big problem statement. Let's understand what it is saying. So I'll pick up the first example. So n equals to 10, and then we have certain entries of logs. So the first one is 0 comma 3, the second one is 2 comma 5, the third one is 0 comma 9, the fourth one is 1 comma 15. So it says that these represents that. So pick up an entry, right? This entry represents that 0 is the ID of an employee, and this is the time when the employee leaves, right? Similarly, 2 is the ID of an employee, 5 is the time when it leaves, 0 is the ID of an employee again, and t is the time when he or she leaves, and so on, right? Now this is basically in increasing order. 0 3 5 9 and 15. Why? Because it says that suppose this is the ith task, this one, and this is the I minus 1th task. So it says that I minus 1th task, as soon as this will end, the ith task will start, right? So this represents a global time, you can say. So at time t equals to 0, this guy starts the first task and finishes at 3. So he goes at 3. Now the second employee comes. So he starts the task at 3 as whenever the first guy ends, and ends at 5, right? Now the third guy comes. He or she starts at 5 whenever this ended, right? And ends at 9. And this employee comes. It starts at 9 and ends at 15, right? These are certain things that are given. Now for how much time this employee has worked? 3 minus 0 equals to 3. For how much time this employee has worked? It is 5 minus 3 equals to 2. This employee 9 minus 5 equals to 4, and this employee 15 minus 9 equals to 6, right? So you can see 3, 2, 4 and 6. What is the maximum value? What is the maximum time an employee has worked? That is 6. And what was the ID of this employee? This was the fourth employee. You go here, this is the ID of the employee, so you return 1, right? This is what the problem is saying, that calculate how much time each employee has worked and return the employee ID who has worked for the maximum number of time. Now in case there is a tie, like for example, suppose two employees have worked for 6 unit of time, then pick up the ID with min value. Like suppose there was an employee with ID number 0, there was an employee with ID number 1. So if both have worked for 6 unit of time, you need to return 0. You need to return the smaller one, right? So this is the problem statement. And again an implementation based thing. You start basically a loop, right? I won't go into that much detail. Let's directly jump into the code, and that will be self-explanatory, right? I won't spend too much of a time. So yeah, you can see what I have done. On line number 3, n equals to logs.length. Obviously n was given, but yeah, I wanted to know the length of the array. That was more applicable in this case, so hence I changed the value. On line number 4 and 5, I have taken a couple of variables. On line number 4, we have max time. On line number 5, we have max time ID. So max time represents the maximum amount of time any employee has worked, and max time ID represents the ID of the employee who has worked for the maximum amount of time. So both will be interrelated, right? And then I have taken a value, taken a variable previous. So previous is taken so that it represents that when did the last employee finished his or her task, right? Now if you are thinking that if I am at index I, then I can directly know the value by just doing I minus 1, that when did the last employee finished. But since indexing starts from 0 now, I'll have to do a check that if I equals to 0, then start from 0. Else for other cases, do that current time minus previous time, and that will be I minus 1th index. So just to avoid a check, what I've taken a variable previous equals to 0, right? Now on line number 8, what I've done, logs of I of 1, that means the end time of the current employee minus previous value. Now it's simple, I don't have to do any check that if I equals to 0, then don't do this, otherwise do this, right? So now I do the comparison. If the current employee work time is greater than the maximum time that we have seen till now, then just update these two values. Max time will be current employee work time, and max time ID will be the ID of the current employee. Now on line number 12, we have a tie related condition that I told you, that if the time is equal, if the current employee work time equals to the max time that we have seen till now, that means the maximum time is not changing, but maybe I need to change the ID of the employee. So that's what we are doing. Max time ID equals to math.min of max time ID, comma the ID of the current employee, that is logs of I, comma 0. And on line number 15, what I'm doing previous equals to log of I of 1. That means the time of the current employee, so that it can be used in the next iteration, right? And then finally I return max time ID, and we are good to go. So yeah, that's it for the solution. I hope you learned something new from this video. Do support it by giving a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel. In case you have any queries, do mention that into the comments. I'll be more than happy to revert on each one of them. Also, if you want to connect with me, we can connect on LinkedIn. I'll be happy for that. Okay, thank you, take care, bye bye.